Okay, so this is one of those videos. I am not quite halfway through with. I can't even remember the title of this one. This is sad. I'm halfway through with the second book in the Dungeon Crawler series, which is Carl's Doomsday Scenario. I'm not reading the physical copy. I'm just listening to it, so that's why I can't remember some of this stuff. But I wanna get your guys' understanding of this. In the comments below, let me know how many of you read it versus listened to it. The reason that I say that is because some parts of this book lose me, because I've mentioned this in other videos. I am not the most action-oriented reader. Anytime there's action sequences, I get pretty bored by those things. I don't want a minute-by-minute description or a second-by-second description of all the fight scene that's going to happen in any particular novel. I would rather have those scenes done pretty quick, which is one of the reasons why I love Lord of the Rings, because those scenes are done somewhat quick and the emotional beats of that are still there. The Dungeon Crawler books right now are just too much action for me. I still am really enjoying them, and I actually really look forward to going on walks where I can kind of listen to them, because it is just like a unplugged kind of listen. Like, I just don't have to focus all that much, and I just get to like unplug from some of the other stuff that I'm reading, which is great. I love this so far. But I think I'm having a problem with maybe zoning out at certain times and not fully understanding maybe what's going on. So this is the thing. The whole thing with Signet, super interesting and cool story, but I don't know. So I guess part of this video is asking if you guys can somewhat fill in some of the gaps for me. I don't really know how Carl defeated the country boss, which was crazy that he defeated was it a country boss? I don't think it was a country boss. I got to figure out who it was. It wasn't a country boss. It was a burrow boss. Who was it? It was the little vine thing. It was the circus guy, Ramirez. I am so bad on names because I'm listening to it, but that's my main part of this video. I think I'm struggling sometimes with parts of this because this is a bit more of a passive and like, let me just sit and enjoy this. And I'm missing some of these fight scenes because like I hear all this fighting and then I kind of just tune it out a little bit, and I don't care that much about like the nitty gritty of how he fought some of these creatures and characters. So this is the one that I missed. He poisoned himself in some way, and I think he poisoned himself to become part of this circus act. He took those parasites so that the circus guy can control him, the vine can control him, and then all of a sudden he can communicate with Signet and tell him that Signet and him want the same thing, and then they got out via that. The way that he defeated him was just a strange way to me, and like even he got an achievement for defeating him in a strange way, which I guess kind of just makes sense within the story to some extent because he's defeating people in different ways. The only part of the battle that I really, really loved was Carl doing something outside of the box, like almost holding the production company hostage and being like, you want tons of ratings? Because he got another achievement for having a quadrillion people view his stream, which is crazy. Imagine that. I wonder what the most popular video on YouTube is, how many billion views it is. I'm curious about that now. But anyway, the Signet thing is really interesting. I think Signet is a really cool character, but I just don't understand her fully. Like some of this stuff I think is a bit harder magic, and I've never been really that enmeshed in like DM or like anything with like deep magic attached to it, like fantasy worlds that have like very specific magic systems. I just don't think I've ever really read that many. Like I guess Brandon Sanderson is the one that I have, but his is not that. There's not like blood mages. I don't really know what a blood mage does. So I think I'm struggling trying to keep track of some of the nitty gritty small details of this story, which I think isn't going to affect me that much. But I think some of these things are going to pop up. I'm not going to have like crazy good guesses on some of this stuff because Signet being a blood mage doesn't make sense to me for how she was able to do all this stuff. She had to use someone else's blood. She couldn't really spill the blood. And then those, I don't know what those little lion things were, the spore lions. There's just like a lot of strange details in here that I don't follow because I'm listening to it. So I'm curious how many of you listened versus actually read the copy. And yeah, I find the listening experience to be fun when there's a good reader. And this guy is a good reader and I like him. And it is a listenable book. But at one point, or at some point, I think the action sequences of this book are not my flavor. And so it's funny because a lot of people are talking about like how I'm going to like him as much as I like Harry Potter. And I don't foresee that. Because like something that I want in this book is things in between the things. Like we just go from action sequence to action sequence. And then as soon as they finish an action sequence, we get whisked up and he goes on to a talk show. And it's not necessarily, I guess, the most fast-paced novel, but it is to some extent. But there's no like downtime that we get with the characters, to be honest, which that's the stuff that I feel like I want most. And there was one moment that we got downtime, and it wasn't really downtime, but was when he essentially defeats Signet, I guess, and defeats him on his own. He goes back, and this is my favorite part of the whole book so far. The second book is when, actually, I think I like the class system the best. Picking the classes, that was kind of fun. But this is like the coolest part, I think the most emotional beat is Carl was thinking about his mom, his dad, Beatrice's mom. And he was like looking at Mongo and Donut. And he was like, this is my family now. And that was really cute. I love that. He's got like a weird little family, but he's doing that. So like more of the existential crises are coming up. More like the debating things. We're getting a bit more insight into the outside world of the dungeon, which I think is going to play a huge part in this. I think Carl's going to end up like trying to overthrow the people in this in some way. But I don't know what he's going to do. I don't know how far he's going to get. I feel like he obviously, because he's like, the guy, has to probably get the entire level. And maybe they're going to offer him a ton of things and, status in this. And he's not going to take it because maybe at the end of this dungeon crawl, if he defeats it, maybe he gets like ultimate power and like, can restore Earth back or something like that. That's kind of where I think the novel's going. And I think all the rest of these novels are going to like give him options that he can kind of jump out at certain points and like, have a huge amount of power. Or if he keeps going, he's going to get vanquished by some of these bosses. So I don't know. The whole thing is funky to me. I feel like I'm following some of it. But I want more breathers in between certain chapters. You know what I mean? Like Harry Potter, one of the reasons why I love him is because you see him in action, but we also see him when he's talking to his friends. We also see him when he's in class. We also see him standing up to bullies. And I guess we do get that a lot of times with Carl. But I feel like I just need more breathers between the scenes. Like, honestly, I want them to take this journey to this other city right now, and I just don't want them to see any bad people. I just want them to have a conversation and just, like, enjoy a smile, enjoy, like, a good meal together, and for there to be, like, 3 chapters of that. Because I want them to relax. Although, at the same time, I want them to level up so they can do better later on. So, I don't know. There's great parts of this novel, and there's parts that I just think are a little helter-skelter. And I don't know if I'm going to like him as much as Harry Potter. But we'll see. So that's all I got for this little review. You can subscribe. You can like the video. And I'm probably just going to listen to another like 2 hours and then do another one. So I'll see you in the next one.